Welcome, everyone. I have the pleasure here with Julian Liniger. Is that correct?
That's correct. Hello,
A-
everybody. Nice to meet you.
And you are founder and CEO of a sweet little Swiss crypto startup, or rather Bitcoin startup. It's called Relai. So maybe just for the beginning, tell us a little bit about yourself and what is Relai?
Sure. Yeah, it's actually, as you say, a little sweet Swiss Bitcoin startup. We have an app that makes it very easy for everybody, even even people that are new to Bitcoin, to easily buy and sell Bitcoin, also on a recurring basis. So you can do like a savings plan. And it's really easy because you can really just download the app. You don't have to get, verified or anything. You just download and basically start. Within 1 minute, you're set up and you've bought your first Bitcoin. And so yeah, we just launched the app beginning of this month, July. So it's around about 1 month that we are live and working on it for a little bit more than 1.5 years, though.
Good. So there's a lot of preparation. The Swiss, they don't do half-baked things. They work hard and diligent. So what is for you kind of a good introduction to Bitcoin? Because a lot of people, I think, still, don't know how it works, and they don't even have an understanding why they would need it. And you, as as an enthusiast or Bitcoin entrepreneur, probably have had, quite a lot of. I mean, first of all, there's the process for yourself, that you have the reasons to decide, okay, I will work on Bitcoin, but then also with, probably experience with many conversations. So when you talk to people and they ask you, yeah, Julian, but why would I even need Bitcoin? What's your preferred, what angles do you like to give them?
Well, I always then ask, so where do you put your money now? What are you doing with your money now? And they always tell me, and also the statistic tells that the majority of people just have their money in fiat currency on their bank account, on their savings account. And so then I tell them, so have you ever thought about what happens with this money? And then they say, no, it's just there, and it's good. It's good. So but then once you realize that you actually pay quite some banking fees on these deposits. So you pay in Switzerland, you pay $5 a month just to have your cash on the bank. So that's $60 per year that go away. Then you have inflation. In Switzerland, it's on average maybe 1.5%. In other countries, it's way more. Like in the extreme countries where there's hyperinflation, like in Zimbabwe or Venezuela or now in Lebanon, they have like 1,000% in inflation per year. So you're melting. Basically, even if you're a millionaire, your savings melt away in 1 year. And then you also have negative interest rates, or at least no interest rates. So you effectively just lose, your money loses value. Your money loses buying power basically every day. And so if you do that for the rest of your life, then your savings and your wealth just melts away. And if you don't want that, then there's some alternatives, and one of the best alternative for me at least is Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the only asset that is truly scarce, and so no authorities can just come and censor your assets and take them away or block you from using them. It's also the only asset that truly belongs to you. It's like cash, but it's a hard asset, a scarce asset that belongs to you. So you actually hold it, and nobody else can interfere with it. And it's also, the asset that is really, decentralized, and nobody can interfere with it. So that's basically what I tell them, and that in the long run, normally the hardest asset wins. So the asset that is the most scarce one just gains value and gains purchasing power, and that's what you want to do with your savings. You want to put your savings in the hardest asset that you can find, and out there right now, this is Bitcoin.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I want to add, I think another thing what people just don't really see is this huge counterparty risk. I mean, I have my money frozen by banks, fintech bank in Malta. Money was gone for months. PayPal froze my money, you know. So the money on the bank is not owned by you. It's
Yeah,
kind of owed to you, right? And people don't read the terms and conditions. They believe, you know, yeah, look, there's the security funds. This won't happen if there's a systemic crisis or, you know, a massive default. The money will be gone. And now,
absolutely.
and even right now, I think just today, fresh news, a huge Spanish bank, Santander, is in deficit, right? And all these millions that Euro printed to support it, it's gone. And also, like, I think just recently, also yesterday, I'm not sure if it's true, but Germany discussed also to change a legislation so that they want to change the naming of so it's not a the money on your account is not a holding. They want to rename it into liability. So the bank owes you basically. So you know that reduces the guarantees basically.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's
You
insane,
just
yeah.
go to a contract with basically with your bank. Your bank is just a business, right? And you go into a contract where they owe you something. But if the bank crashes, like every business, then they don't have any cash in the bank anymore, which they could give you. So you actually, as you say, you don't really hold the money. But people don't realize it until really like some crisis actually happened to them, which is not very often. But when it happens, then everything is gone. Like I remember when I was working at a Swiss bank, it was like it was in the aftermath, I think, of the financial crisis, 2008, 2009, and I remember that we have some Greek customers in Switzerland, living in Switzerland. They pulled out a lot of money to send to Greece because in Greece their families could not withdraw more than $50 a day. From their bank accounts because there was basically a bank run, and so that was the first time I really like when I was like maybe what was I 20. I was like no what, like 25 or so. That's when I really realized, hey, this money doesn't belong to you. The bank decides whether they give these Greece people the money or not, and it's kind of crazy if you think about it.
Yeah, fantastic. So okay, we got that part that there is a bit of a problem with the financial system that might not yet is so present to people. Another thing from a more positive side, so you mentioned that you believe Bitcoin is the hardest asset, the hardest monetary asset ever invented, and therefore there's a good chance that, you know, long term, the world economy, basically the world economy's people will converge, and the hardest asset will win. So there's this term of hyper Bitcoinization. You probably know it, right? So
Mhm.
in your mind, what's most amazing that could happen when Bitcoin takes over? What fascinates you? What do you imagine the future of Bitcoin be like?
Well, I would love to see Bitcoin to be really the reserve currency. Right now you have reserve currency, which is US dollar. It used to be gold, and then all the other fiat currencies or assets or derivatives or whatever there are in other assets, they're all based on this base layer, of reserve currency. And it used to work very, very well when we had the gold standard because the base currency was fixed in the amount, so it was scarce. And so then you can really build a stable financial system on top of it, with all these, debt-based fiat currencies or derivatives or future contracts or whatever you can do. And this works, but it doesn't work anymore because if you have this first layer which supposed to be stable, it's not. If it's not stable anymore, then obviously it's like a house of cards, and all the other things will break sooner or later. This is like how I imagine it. That this is really getting moved quite a lot right now. This house of cards, and it will just break and vanish at one point if we cannot get this basis right, and I imagine that right now Bitcoin is just a small player in this whole financial, all these financial bubbles. But I imagine that it's going to be bigger and bigger and bigger, and then sooner or later, also the national banks and central banks, they all actually see that, or that they will identify that this is actually the basis we should build the whole financial system on top of. So if I could wish, what I would wish for our financial system is really that the base layer is either gold or Bitcoin, and then we build everything on top of it.
Nice, building on Bitcoin. But maybe some person would argue, come on, guy, you can't tell. Like, we will need some superpower controlling that. Now you come here, like you crypto nerd, like we can't have an open source protocol being the base layer. How should that work? So what would you react to this type of concern?
Well, I would maybe compare it to the internet. We always had this thought that if you have a digital network, it needs to be controlled by like one company, and we have a lot of intranets. So a lot of companies have their intranets. But we also have the internet, which is open source and distributed, and which one does work better for you? Like, which one is the more open, the more neutral? Which one works for everybody? And which one do you trust more? Do you trust one corporation to handling your transaction and your information, your data, or do you trust the distributed open source system? And in the case of the internet, it's very, very clear. So nobody would argue with that. So why would you argue with it on a financial side? I think if you have if you have a point, an authority of control, then this authority always has the power to do malicious things. If you have it distributed, then and based on math, I mean, it's not based on nothing. It's based on maths. It's based on a protocol, and everybody who disagrees with the protocol just should not use it. But most of the people will sooner or later realize probably that this protocol just really does what it promises, as opposed to a lot of governments or financial, all these authorities that usually sooner or later don't do what they promise.
Yeah, right. You mentioned you worked in a bank. Could you share a little bit your story from your past, and then guiding over, if you can also share a bit, how did you decide to do Bitcoin only business rather than a shitcoin app?
Okay, yeah, they're two separate questions. I start with the first. So I studied business administration, and I was always interested in financial system, financial transactions, stock markets, all these things. And so I decided, one of my first basically real jobs, or it was an internship, I decided to do this at a bank, because I was thinking like, that's basically the center of all financial activities that are going on. I can probably learn a lot there. And I got quite disillusionized when I saw that, free market things that you read, or like the exciting, interesting things about finance, they don't happen in a bank. Banks are really like, as I have seen it from working at the third biggest banks in Switzerland. Obviously, I was an intern, so I didn't get to talk a lot to the CEOs and the top management level, and didn't really saw what they're doing. But for me, it really felt like, wow, you guys, this is just a huge, old, bureaucratic institution that could just be automized. And all these things I have done there for more than a year. It was I just thought, everything of that can just be done automatically. Like, why would, I mean, there were people literally controlling lists of data every day, or there were people.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing a bit.
I mean, it was really like fascinating. People they scanned in documents every day, or people they archived every day. Myself, my job was really to digitize the physical archive. So I would scanning documents and then save it on some server, and it was just like I was just laughing. I thought, guys, you're not producing value. You're not doing anything of value. It's just really this management of data, which will all be digitized. So I really didn't understand why banks are needed after that. And so that's also probably why I was so interested in Bitcoin, because I saw, everything that money is supposed to do, Bitcoin just does it better than the banks now. That's probably how I slipped into this. And also the whole regulatory, I was just, the whole all the legal and compliance overhead of a bank, like, oh my God, I think like half of the people that working in the bank are just making sure they comply with the regulations. And I was like, why can't we just make this way easier? I mean, it's really just about, I want to send money to another person, or I want to save my money in some assets, and this is all can be done with way more freedom. Why do we have to have all these supervisory, like why don't we just let people transact with each other freely? As opposed to having all these institutions controlling everybody and employing people to have shitty jobs to control everybody. So I was like, I didn't understand this, and so I understand Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin just makes way more sense to me in that regard, because it can do everything that banks can do, but just in a digitized, automated way, and the protocol that makes way more sense than the protocol the banks are using, and the old system the banks are using. Yeah, I could keep on talking for ages about this, but that's basically the main point. Just doesn't make sense, the bank.
Yeah.
And so the second question maybe is, so the whole Bitcoin versus crypto discussions is a big one that we have with our community and internally with the team. The bottom line is that we started off, very open, very crypto friendly. Our tagline was easy crypto investing, not easy Bitcoin investing as it is now. So we were really open. I always thought it's interesting to explore different use cases with blockchain and crypto, and obviously Bitcoin. I was always convinced that Bitcoin is the king, but I was like, I mean, maybe there are other interesting use cases and experiments. I just think and I learned also a lot from the community here, is that there's from an investment point of view, from a money point of view, there's really two aspects. There's saving and there's gambling. And so I also did a lot of gambling with different, shit coins and different ICOs that I participated, and then I basically 10x'd them, and I went out of the trade again, or also I 5x'd them, and then after half I kept on holding it, and I've lost it all because the ICO got broke. So I did my experiments and the experience there as well. And I just think, you have to, if you're a business, you provide a service, and you want to decide, do I provide a service for gamblers, so like a casino, and then shit coins might make sense. Why not? But then you just have to inform people, hey, this is not for saving. This is really for you to, do your casino trades. Or you want to be a savings app, like help people store their wealth on the long term. And that's what we wanted to do in the end. So that's why it's really clear to us that we need to be Bitcoin only now, and want to be Bitcoin only now and stay Bitcoin only, because we really want to help people save their money, take it out from this broken financial system, and save it with the best asset in the world, which is Bitcoin. And we also help them with like making it very easy without, KYC, AML, all this onboarding bullshit, all these regulatory overhead things, and also with automating trade. So you can do like a savings plan, so that you have to do one trade at the beginning. You say how much you want to buy per week, let's say $50 a week, and then you have to type in this trade once, make your bank transfer, a standing order, and then it just does it for you, and you don't have to do anything. It's out of your mind, it's automated, and every week some Bitcoin drop in. And on the long term, we see way more potential in that, giving the people financial freedom than to let them gamble with things, which they can do with other sites anyway.
Yeah, very nice, very interesting. You mentioned the regulatory aspects of banking. So you're advertising with non KYC, so no documents need to be uploaded for purchases. That's obviously something that I think is a great USP for first and foremost. It's fantastic. It's it really makes it simpler and faster. But of course, looking at the whole the bigger picture, the regulation, I agree. I think it's more of a system of control, of course, for the transactions, for the users of the banking system, to have all the transactions control and have surveillance in place. But then also it keeps competition off the market, because it's so hard to comply with all these regulations. So my question to you is, how does this actually work, if you can share it, if it's not a trade secret,
No.
and what do you expect to happen? Like, is this something really solid, or is it maybe that at some point you might have to also change it?
Well, I hope not. I mean, at the big, as it is now, this is really the standard Swiss law. We 100% we comply to it for 100%. I mean, our director is a lawyer, and we like the president of the board of directors. He's a lawyer. Also our legal advisor. We're working with lawyers, so we're all clean and safe from a regulatory point of view. We have a legal opinion and everything, so it's all good. We're all good on that. So as long as the laws don't change, which I don't see coming in the near future, then we can go on with our business. So it's nothing shady that we do. It's just a legal niche that we have. So how we are doing this is basically that we have set up a system that is exactly doing what a Bitcoin ATM is doing. So in Switzerland and also in a lot of other countries, you have Bitcoin ATMs where you can go, you can put in 100 Swiss francs, for example, and you get out a paper wallet, or you get a QR code, and then you can get your Bitcoin, and then you can walk away. It takes you 1 minute. You don't have to do an account. You don't have to do verification. You don't have to do KYC. You don't have to do a deposit. Nothing, right? And it works up to a certain amount. And we just basically do exactly the same thing in a digital way, in form of an app. Why is this legal? Because we never hold the money we never have access to the money of the client. So the client just basically puts in this $100 bill. Just in our case, he sends the money to the bank account of our broker, bitty.com, which is our broker in the back end. They're doing then the programmatic exchange. So also they are legally non-custodial. They have obviously access to the user funds for a couple of minutes, I would say, like for some time, for some period of time. But they are highly regulated. Like they're a regulated financial intermediary under Swiss law, so that's all good. And then they change it very fast in a programmatic way to Bitcoin on different exchanges. So they're a licensed broker, and they send it back to the smartphone wallet, Relai wallet, and then from there on, again, the user controls the fee. So this is basically when the user at a physical Bitcoin ATM would take the paper wallet out or receive the Bitcoin on its smartphone. So this is really what makes us special, in the sense that we are not part of this whole financial regulatory framework, because we don't touch any user funds, and also we don't hold user data. So that's why we don't have to be regulated in this way. Obviously, there's a limit to that. So these AML regulations say you can do these kind of cash transactions. They're basically cash exchange transaction that we do from a legal point of view, and you can do those up until $5,000 per 5,000 Swiss francs per day and 100,000 Swiss francs per year. And we can offer this service basically to the whole world, technically, or also legally. Like this is we can offer this to anybody. It's like if somebody from, I don't know, Germany, it's like someone from Germany would travel to Switzerland and use a Bitcoin ATM here. I mean, and nobody will tell him, no, that's not, you cannot do that. So we can basically, from Switzerland, and these regulations apply to Switzerland where we have our headquarters, we can basically serve the whole world with this. At the moment, we're only available for European countries. So.
Nice, excellent. Thanks for these insights here. So let's talk a little bit more maybe about the entrepreneurial side of being a Bitcoin entrepreneur. So I was interested, how did you manage to raise funds? What was the funding process like? What is the mindset required maybe of an investor in this space? And if you have some anecdotes also, maybe what are the biggest challenges for you in as a Bitcoin and entrepreneur basically? A few questions together now, but maybe you can make sense out of it.
It's okay. Yeah, I think they go together. So fundraising in general is very hard. I felt like, at least for me or for us, it was very, very hard. Like for the first year, we didn't have any external money coming in, even though we were talking to different angel investors and stuff, but they didn't really want to work with us because we were too early. We just basically had a pitch deck and, thinking about Silicon Valley and stuff. Maybe in Silicon Valley this works, but usually I also think it doesn't really work over there. And so we ran around with our pitch deck, showing it to different investors, and they all said, nah, young guys trying to do something with a pitch deck. No. Like you really have to show something that is working, or first clients, first partnerships, or first proof of concept, MVPs, or even live apps. Then you can get some money, but otherwise it's very hard. Early stage is very hard. So we basically bootstrapped for more than 1 year, working on the concept without any external funding. And then we already wanted to quit because really, like, we couldn't pay ourselves any salary and stuff. So we were really close before quitting, when then finally we found our first 2 angel investors that were looking at our team, our idea, and they liked it. And they said they didn't understand anything about Bitcoin, but they liked us and the idea, and they saw that there's something going on there, and they were willing to fund the development of our app. So we had the deal that, okay, we have all the proof of concept, it all works, but we need to make a mobile app out of this, which costs a lot of money. And so they said, we give you some money that you can work on it for 3 months. Actually, the money was only enough to pay Adam, my co-founder, the CTO, to code day and night for 3 months without having to do any other job. And so that's what we did. We paid him this money. It was 20K. We received 20K, not more. In Switzerland, that's enough to pay 3 months of salary. So I still didn't get any cent out of the project up until now, but it was worth it, because then in these 3 months we could develop this app that now is live on the App Store and that people love. And so after that, then now it's kind of easier. It's gotten easier to fundraise. We are actually very soon before closing our 200K seed round now, because we could show that we have something on the market. We have a great team that works great together, and we have good numbers. In the first month now we have way more than 1,000 app downloads, more than 100K got invested into Bitcoin over our platform. So people really like it, people really use it. We have the first paying customers, and that makes it way easier for us now to raise funds. But the biggest challenges are really that a lot of investors don't understand Bitcoin, and so you really have to find people who understand the value proposition of Bitcoin. Otherwise, you spend too much time to explain them. Most of them will not understand anyway, and then you need like hours to explain them, and then after that, you still need, again, hours to explain them how your solution now works and why it's interesting. So it's way easier if you just skip this first explanation, and if you just contact people, potential business angels that already know that Bitcoin is valuable, are already active in the industry. So then you can really just focus on explaining them and convincing them about your vision and your mission and your product. And so that was something that worked for us at the end. We now have a lot of crypto savvy, Bitcoin savvy people on the investor list. And another huge challenge is also to get a bank account, actually. So to make your whole, in order to create your business, at least here in Switzerland, I think in most countries, you need a bank account. And most banks, just if they read any sort of crypto or Bitcoin relation to this company, then or to this project, they won't help you to get a bank. They won't give you a bank account. So we dropped at like 10 banks or so until we found a bank that is working with us now, but only because we don't touch any money. So if you are a Bitcoin company, already makes it very hard to get a bank account. But if you're a Bitcoin company that manages or touches or has access to money of customers, then if you're in this area, then wow, it's really hard to get a bank account. That's why a lot of Bitcoin businesses fail. I guess. So that's we were also lucky there. But also even though we get a bank account now, it takes us 6 weeks of due diligence they do on us, the bank, and it's a very bureaucratic process. A lot of forms to fill in and blah blah blah, and it costs us 2.5K just for them to do the due diligence. So we pay them to do the due diligence, and after these 6 weeks, they could still technically say no, and then we still have to pay these 2.5K, which is ridiculous. But yeah, it looks very good now. So we basically have the oral commitment that we will at the end of this process get the bank account. But it's crazy to pay 2.5K just to get screened, and then we still pay between $500 and $1,000 per quarter for them to keep on providing us the bank account. So this is a huge challenge, obviously, for an early stage startup, and that's the struggles you have to deal with if you want to do something in Bitcoin land.
Yeah, interesting. So one funny question I have for you is, what is your mother actually thinking you are doing? Probably this meme, where it's like, what are my friends doing? What the hell are you doing there?
I think she has no idea really what I'm doing. She knows she knows I'm working on an app, and then she usually says, she's a very critical person, so she usually says, there's 1,000 apps on the App Store. Why do you need to do another one? Nobody will use it anyway and stuff. So she's that kind of person. So she thinks I'm kind of trying to do something with an app which won't work because there's so many apps. And also regarding Bitcoin, she really doesn't understand Bitcoin. So she thinks it's just some gambling magic internet money thing that will go away very soon again. So she suggests, she doesn't tell me what to do, which is good, but she kind of suggests I might as well also think about a little bit more about my career and having a real job and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's very funny, and I think all startup entrepreneurs share a similar sort of story. So okay, we're coming to an end. It's been an absolute smashing discussion with you. Thank you so much. Last question, of course, has to be an exchange, or any type of Bitcoin business always has this problem that they're like long bear markets that are really tough to survive, and like really nothing really goes. But then all of a sudden, because of these hype cycles and Bitcoin, often after the halving, right, which has been just a few months ago, there's a huge parabolic curve, and FOMO hits, and people are just jumping in. I talked to one guy in Austria And he said, yeah, like in 17 when the bull run came, they were operating the Bitcoin ATM in I think it's called House of Nakamoto or something, right? And like people were on the front, on the door front, on the shop front, and like hitting the glass and trying to get in, trying to get Bitcoin. And
a Bitcoin run, not a bank
yeah,
run. Bitcoin
exactly,
run.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So an actual Bitcoin run, and so then there's this bear market, which is tough, and then it's another tough challenge, which is being prepared to cater for all this huge demand. So what do you expect, without maybe doing too many predictions, but what's your outlook, short, midterm right now, and are you ready?
Well, yeah, I think from a business perspective, we are ready. Like what we have in production now is really scalable. The only thing that's not scalable is the support. So we feel quite some support requests because our product is also not perfect yet. So some people usually they're not bugs or so, but like they're UX, UI things that are not quite clear. So a lot of people are asking the same questions. Do I need to send money actually? So a lot of people think that they can just type in the order and then they will receive Bitcoin. And after 1 week, they ask, where is my Bitcoin? And we always tell them that, you need to transfer money so that we can exchange it to Bitcoin. A lot of this is not clear yet to a lot of people. So we get a lot of support request, and this is more, we get more obviously now in these phases where their price jumps and Bitcoin is in the media overall and stuff, so we get more of those. But from a technical point of view, the concept that we have now is really scalable. Maybe if there's really a lot of demand coming in, we might have to employ one person who takes care about the whole support and community management thing. But other than that, I'm confident we can handle quite some transaction volume, which obviously would be good for us. From a market perspective, I don't think that we will see a parabolic thing, like a huge bubble again, like in 2017. I think people are still kind of afraid of that. They still remember buying Bitcoin at 19K and then selling it at 6K. So they remember that, and I don't think that they will go like crazy as they went then. So I hope, and also I also expect that there will obviously be ups and downs, but it will be a little more civilized, I guess. So people will start off with small amounts and hopefully do some DCA investing, so set up a savings plan and keep it slow a little bit. Don't rush and don't stress out. I think we will see more like a gradual increase now in price. I hope so, because it would be better also for the stability, I think, of the ecosystem overall, and will attract less scammy projects and all of that again. So I would love to see something that's a little bit more mature than what we've seen in 2017.
Yeah, that's very Swiss-like, probably. So yeah. Maybe last one is what does Relai actually stand for?
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. We were looking for a name, and then we were thinking about this DCA concept was always at the heart of what we wanted to do. So setting up this savings plan and making auto buys automatically, small transactions every week, which then gets you some big savings after a couple of years. That was always the goal. And then we were thinking about a name that kind of represents this. And we found this concept in electronic engineering, that a relay is basically a kind of a machine or a tool that takes little small signals or small electronic signals and make one big one out of it. And so that's basically where it came from, this idea of taking of accumulating a lot of small things in order to get one big thing.
Yeah, nice, excellent. I think for any tech investor that is watching right now, I think it's time to get in touch. So it's Relai.ch, right?
Yeah, it's Relai.ch.
Okay, awesome.
Also, we are working on a new website that will be released probably in 1 or 2 weeks, and then we also have the domain Relai.eu because we're really active in whole Europe. And I didn't know that tech investors might be listening. We actually unfortunately have closed our round.
Oh, that's even better. FOMO hitting. You know, get me in, get me in.
Yeah, I mean we don't really plan to sell more shares at the moment, but obviously, you know, maybe in a later round. So I'm always happy to get in touch. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, look, Julian, it has been absolutely interesting. Great pleasure talking to you. I wish you best of success. And yeah, hope to stay in touch, and we will see where Bitcoin goes. If it goes moderate peaks or maybe parabolic.
We'll see. What do you think? What do you think, man? Do you think we will have another bull run?
I think it could happen because it's just, you know, when the price goes, there are people on the sidelines, and I mean the models see it, you know, in the 100,000s. So I mean, nobody can predict the future really, right? But generally I also, like, I don't really care anymore. You know, it's been too long, and so it's more about really enjoying the process rather than the prices. Of course, it's a great pleasure if the market is going crazy again. I mean, it is a ride. You know, it's definitely a rush then. But generally, I'm pretty. I think it can definitely go on hundreds of thousands, very in the very near future. So we'll see.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, hopefully. Thank you very much for having me on. It was a great pleasure. And yeah, talk to you soon. Keep in touch.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Enjoy your day.
Thanks. You too.